Welcome to the Bridge of Two podcast.
Welcome.
Welcome back.
We're both fighting little tickles in our throat, so
Yeah, that's all it is.
so whatever's going on. So
Little throat demons.
apologies for if we sound weird or anything like that. But welcome back to the Bridge of Two podcast. How's that tea, Lana, honey?
It's the right amount, I think.
Good.
It's interesting.
It's like a cinnamon honey, right?
Cinnamon chai. Yeah. It's good. It feels good on my throat.
Good. Maybe I'll have some later.
I'm just gonna say right off the bat,
Yes.
because we did advertise on the Bridge of Two Instagram. We were gonna have Johan Martin on
Yes.
to talk about his new book, A Dream of Stewards. But he had something come up last minute. We were going to definitely going to be doing that. Lord willing.
If nothing else comes up,
Yeah.
for any of
Creek
us.
Don't Rise next episode. Because we were definitely looking forward to having him on and figured out like the science of how to have like a remote guest and get it recorded and everything. So,
it'll be a good time. Be looking forward.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it, actually.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I've already started reading his book, and so that'll give me also some time to get a little further into it.
Yes, I was thinking about that. I'm actually kind of a little happy it happened because I want to be able to. It's going to give me time to read his book.
So it's perfect. It just worked out perfectly.
It did. Although not the circumstances. Sorry.
Right,
For said
sick kids, so yeah, definitely not fun. So
hopefully he feels better.
hopefully by the time this airs, he'll be better, because that's a week from now.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, but so what is going on in your sci-fi fantasy world?
I feel like you should start this time.
Okay.
What's going on in your sci-fi
Okay.
fantasy world?
Well,
What adventures and stories and worlds have you delved into this week?
did you say delved into?
Delved into.
It's like dwelling and delving. I like it, actually.
I have said delved my entire life and never knew it was wrong, and still to this day don't really know if it's wrong. I think it is, but my brain wants to just.
I think it means delving into dwelling.
I'm about it. That's all right. New word. There we go.
So we're gonna go delve after this podcast.
New T-shirt. Delve.
The dwarves delved too greedily and too deep.
Anyway, what have you delved into?
I have been delving into. What have I been? I keep wanting to say that word now. What have I been doing with my life?
Delving.
I finished the Book of Boba Fett.
No spoilers. I haven't finished it yet.
And I definitely want to talk about it because it's definitely it's good. I think it's a good show. I like it. I had some moments of kind of angsty feeling about some of the things they did and decisions. Not really like nothing controversial or anything. Just like didn't completely buy some things.
Okay.
That they were trying to pull off.
Yeah, there's one thing that I heard. I haven't finished it yet, but I obviously know pretty much everything that happens because Instagram.
Internet, yeah.
But, and I wasn't intentionally trying to avoid the spoilers. But, some of the things on there just seemed odd.
Yeah. I'll be interested to, definitely talk to you about it because
I'll
of all your
definitely
Star Wars knowledge.
We'll have to talk about it once maybe next podcast or something like that. I'll bring it up or maybe we'll do an episode on the Book of Boba Fett when I finish. Because at this point, who knows? It takes forever for my wife and I to finish anything.
Sure.
But you enjoyed it, though?
Overall, yeah. Definitely. Like I said, I like it. I guess where no spoilers, but just where I've come, what I feel now, and I think I mentioned it to you the other night, is the premise. I feel like just the premise doesn't work great with Boba Fett.
Yeah, that's kind of what I started.
The premise of he's taking over, Jabba the Hutt's like crime empire. It's fun, that it's on Tatooine and there's a lot of callbacks to stuff, but it just feels weird seeing him have to do like politician, crime lord stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember that in the first episode, really episode into just thinking like there are different certain characters that like get in his way, and I just like think like, oh, he'll just pull out his gun and shoot him because that's what Boba Fett is about. What do you do?
Right. Which they're kind of like, I don't know, I feel like it's them kind of trying to say he's trying to be different.
Yeah.
But right. I just don't know how well it works as a show, you know? I mean, it's not like I want, you know, it's not like I like murder, but
you sure? I watch a lot of Criminal Minds. I might that is a joke for legal purposes.
Right. The FBI that's listening to our podcast.
We got a few FBI listeners.
Yeah. Shout out to the FBI. I'll
say though, because I think I've watched 3 or 4 at this point, and I think it was the second or third episode. The episode, slight spoilers ahead, but the episode where it's like more than half the episode's in a flashback of him with the Tusken Raiders.
Uh-huh.
I really liked that.
Yeah, me too.
I liked Boba Fett with the Sand People and like when with the train and everything like that.
Definitely. Yep.
Like that. I remember watching the episode and like being on the edge of my seat. Like I actually liked that episode a lot.
I mean, that definitely felt like a Boba Fett story.
Yes. Like that was cool. And to see him, and it's also like to see the Sand People who, like you just don't. They're all savages.
Right.
In the movies, you know, Anakin's killing them.
They're very dehumanized in the other. Not that they're obviously not human, but I mean they're like, yeah,
they're just dehuman. They're dehumanized. They're made to be savages. I mean, even Anakin is just like, you know, slaughtered them like savages.
Yeah.
But this kind of showed like a different, like a societal side to them.
Right. Show that they have their own internal morality, their own internal. You know, sense of, and obviously this is just one tribe too. So there's, you know, who knows the ones that
it was cool. And I know there's like, there is like lore with them in like the expanded universe. I haven't really delved too much into it, but I know there's like a Jedi that was a sand person or something like that. I'm pretty sure back in the EU, or the expanded universe.
Okay. Interesting.
But yeah, I really, that episode, I just remember really liking that episode. Then the next episode was kind of slow again. But I liked that flashback. I liked that more than half the episode was in the flashback, basically.
You know, it's funny that you said when we were doing the quiz, and the question was, who's Boba Fett's mother? And you said his mother's the tank. And then this show, like almost every episode, he ends up back in the tank, like back in the arms of mother.
Interesting. Oh, there's some symbolism there.
Rebirth.
Cool. Anyway. Well, yeah, I'll let you know when I finish.
It's definitely worth finishing.
Yeah, I definitely plan on finishing it
to just see. But it made me excited for the other shows.
Yeah,
like,
I think it's kind of.
I don't know if that's a weird thing because this wasn't the best one. But, like, it made me excited for Ahsoka's show. It made me excited for more stuff with The Mandalorian.
I think that's kind of what it was turning into, too, by the end, from what I gathered, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
That they're using it to kind of push the other shows, which is fine. You know, I don't think anyone was, I don't know, were people really asking for a Boba Fett show?
I don't know. I think people were excited about it for sure when it was like
when it was announced for sure. Like
there was a long time ago when George Lucas still owned everything.
The GOAT.
They were going to be there was talks about a live action Star Wars show, and Boba Fett was going to be one of the main characters.
Interesting.
So they're kind of doing that now. You know, they're doing a lot of like somewhat smaller Star Wars stories on TV. And that was something that was talked about way back when George Lucas still had it. I was excited back then for a Boba Fett show. So, if that's worth anything.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, so that was that. And then I've been reading a little bit of Johan's book. Started that. I'm on chapter 3 and I'm enjoying it. It's very interesting. And I think I was telling you
what does it like fall? Not to cut you off, but what does it fall under? Is it like is it like a sci-fi or is it like a mystery? Is it?
Well, it's so this isn't really spoilery because it's kind of it's like in the synopsis of the story and it's right in within the first. I think I don't know if it's the first chapter or if it's like a prologue, but it's clearly a time travel story.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I guess, under sci-fi, right? I don't know if there's like a subgenre under that for time travel type stories, but I think it's more under sci-fi is like, it's.
But is it like it's from what you might read like through chapters, like
It's
does it
more
seem like a mystery or
yes.
like kind of like a Jason Bourne type of.
You know what? I'm gonna say like a mixture, right? Because the main character is, I believe, former military.
Okay.
And he's like something. His dad works for some mysterious place that I'm guessing has something to do with time travel or something. And then his son gets caught, kind of pulled into some organization that might be like time travel, like detectives or something. I'm not sure exactly. Because I haven't gotten far enough, but it's got a Jason. There's definitely a Jason Bourne scene, like in early on in one of the chapters.
Cool.
Like this guy is in his house and like someone's trying to kill him, like assassin or
I
whatever.
have a feeling I'll definitely enjoy it then because I love my sci-fi fantasy, but like the other genre I really like are those like action mystery type. Like Jack Reacher is a very good example.
Okay, this feels like it's in that vein.
Yeah, I like that.
Only with the time travel element, which is very intriguing, right? Because
so
there's all this foreshadowing and all these teases, like right at the beginning, that story is going to have kind of lots of twists and turns time travel wise. So,
well, I'm super excited to read it.
Yeah.
I'll probably end up starting it maybe tomorrow. I still need to finish Wheel of Time, but
Wheel of Time, another time travel. Sure. And it's interesting. It's written from like third person perspective, like a lot of books or most books, but it's all in the present tense.
Interesting.
So it's all, he opens the door, he walks through the door.
Interesting.
And then like it's like describing. So it's very, very tight on his perspective, the viewpoint character's perspective, because everything's very in the present,
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's definitely been an interesting. I think I said interesting a lot. It's definitely been I think, like it's definitely gotten across and put this feeling of this is unfolding. Like in the span of a time, with the idea of a time travel novel, it's very interesting because you can almost imagine like, this could be happening right now because of time travel rules and things like that. Because like, is time
is relative, my friend.
Is time linear? Is time? If you go back in time
is a human construct.
And you cause the thing you're trying to stop, then you become the cause of the thing.
We need to stop. Time travel always whacks my brain out. I have a hard time, like some. Just oh gosh, I don't even think about it.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's a mystery. All right. That's me. I for now.
For now. Until something jogs your memory.
Yeah.
Right? Something else you've done. Cool.
How about you?
Nothing. No. I've been delving really hard into Lost Ark.
Bing.
Released February. The early release was February 8th for Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Playing with my brother, and he started a guild and all of his friends, and we got to get you on and all that. But man, it's fun. And I just got to a point in the game, like it's for those who don't know, Diablo is like Lost Ark is like a Diablo-esque game, that action RPG top down view. But it's an MMO. Graphics beautiful, animation wonderful. I mean, it's really good. But what I was surprised about that I didn't know is it's actually got pretty good storytelling too. Like there is a main story, and so far it's pretty good. And like some of the like instances that they have, like I just did this one instance that like, man, it was super cinematic and like really just made you feel like a BA in it, and it just really drove home like, man, this is a pretty cool game. And then my brother just got to max level, and he's telling me that like where I'm at, I don't even know, like the entire world just opens up. They're sailing in the game. And like there's like so many different continents, and like it's just like a massive game. Apparently, it's been out in Korea for a while, I guess. But yeah, I've been delving into that. It's been a lot of fun. Been really enjoying that game. And then enjoying the story too, which I wasn't expecting.
I have played that some. as well. Not much, but
I'll when we take a break, I'll let you know about getting into the guild. So you just have to. You can go find the guild and ask for requests to be put into it, and Josh can just accept it.
Okay.
Shout out to you.
Shout out to you.
Other than that, Caleb's let me borrow Pokemon Arceus. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm really liking that game.
Okay.
They changed quite a few things up, and it really I really like the changes they did. I don't know if everybody does, but I did. It makes it just feel more RPG-ish.
Okay.
Like open world, walking
armor.
around. Not necessarily armor, but like you can change the Pokemon's moves. Like in the old Pokemon games, if you learn a new move, you forget the old one.
Yeah.
You can get it back.
Yeah.
That's no longer a thing.
Oh, cool.
You can just
cycle them out.
Okay.
That's cool.
You can freely go sneak up on Pokemon, try and catch them.
Okay. You don't have to just fight them.
You don't have to just fight them. The combat too is like, say you go to sneak up on a Pokemon and they spot you and they start attacking you. You can just throw a Pokeball out with your Pokemon and it'll immediately start the battle.
Okay.
And so your Pokemon will be out, and then you the battle is real time. So you're even walking. Your character can walk around the battle.
That's cool.
It's just
makes it feel more immersive and more. Yeah.
There's a story. There's like an actual story going on. There's crafting and stuff like that.
Cool.
And it takes place like in the past, like when Pokemon are still brand new to people. So that's part of the game is you trying to build the first Pokédex, basically.
Are you Professor Oak as a child?
I don't know. You came through some weird space rift in the sky.
What?
I don't know. I'm sure that'll get answered maybe. Or not. It's Pokemon.
Space rift.
But it's been a lot. I've been enjoying it a lot. So if anyone's got a Switch and they like Pokemon, I suggest giving it a go. It's just a nice change up.
That sounds actually really enticing.
It's a nice...
I haven't played a Pokemon game in a while, but...
It's a nice change up. Like, I played Sword and Shield for a little bit, but even then Sword and Shield kind of just felt like the same thing. This is just a nice change up.
Do you, have a starter Pokemon?
Mm-hmm.
Did you choose Pikachu?
Mm-mm. The starters are Cyndaquil.
Okay. Fire.
There's, one from each. There's a starter from... they're from different... There's the 3 starters, the water and fire type.
Right.
But they're all from different generations, like Cyndaquil. And then, I cannot remember the other 2 right now.
Bulbasaur?
No, not Bulbasaur. I don't know if Bulbasaur's in the game, actually. I don't know.
What?
I haven't seen all the Pokemon yet. But I picked Cyndaquil just because I actually really liked Cyndaquil. I think Cyndaquil was Pokemon Silver or something like that.
I feel like Cyndaquil was the next generation, I think. Because I remember Cyndaquil.
Yeah. And
I didn't follow the generations very much after that. First generation.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I do have a Pikachu, but I don't use it. But yeah, the Pokédex is cool. The Pokédex is you, instead of it just you capturing Pokemon and okay, you catch a Pokemon and then each Pokemon has basically quests. Catch a certain amount, battle a certain amount, see them use a certain amount of moves, evolve, So really just RPG'd it. Mm-hmm. And I'm digging it.
Sounds
definitely digging it. Other than that, just, normal stuff. I'm still trying to read Wheel of Time. I haven't read it in a while, but I read it today a little bit at work. Got past a little bit of a slog of a part, and it seems like I'm near the end. It's starting to pick up again.
Okay.
So just some of the characters just annoy me.
Mm-hmm.
And and I get it. And they're fitting their character,
right? The
way their character is. It's just annoying me.
A lot of the characters annoyed me in the first book. Yeah. So
a lot of the Aes Sedai annoy the crap out of me. They're so haughty toddy and just. Other than that, I'm I still enjoy the book, but I'll finish that soon. And then I'll end up reading. I'll read the. Drawing a blank on the name of the time travel book.
A Dream of Stewards.
Dream of Stewards.
I think it's the first book.
Been watching a little bit of the Legends of Vox Machina.
Uh-huh.
I'm 6 episodes behind. They're releasing them 3 at a time, which I kind of like.
Interesting.
But that's good.
Yeah.
I still feel the same about as I did last podcast.
Okay.
We talked about it,
Like a little bit over the top with the cursing and some other stuff.
Some of the humor, but it's still good. I like the animation in it. Other than that, yeah.
Nice.
I finished that drawing, the illustration for Jubu that was posted yesterday.
Shout out to you.
For those who follow my Instagram.
I do.
You can see it now. It is live.
It's out there. It can never be taken back, ever.
Working on a new project, but I won't tell anybody what it is.
I'll tell you if you DM me. Just DM me privately. I'll tell you what his project is.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
You can't stop me. I'm free.
But yeah, that's it for my dwelling.
Well, we are excited. I'm very excited. I've got my books here. Did you notice?
I noticed. You're so studious.
Did you see all the notes?
I did. I feel...
There's not that many notes.
I feel bad.
They're just like, I just jotted little things so I wouldn't forget. Because I would remember why I was saving that spot. There's just a few interesting passages.
Oh, but yes, we're going to be talking about...
Yes. We're going to be talking about Lord of the Rings, the Amazon show, Rings of Power, which the teaser dropped during the Super Bowl. And it has been viewed like hundreds of millions of times, and it has generated lots of angst from fans and controversy, and but also a lot of interest. I have a lot of interest for sure in it, and it made me go back and I wanted to read and delve into the written word, Silmarillion, the unfinished tales.
Oh my!
That Tolkien wrote. Kind of get some ideas of some of the things we saw in the teaser, what those things could be actually hinting at, and what things the show might actually cover, which they probably are going to cover. I'm very excited, but
I'm excited to talk about it because I'm going to learn a lot. I'm going to learn a lot. Here.
So when we come back, we're going to drink some coffee, and we're going to get into it. So please come back and be blessed.
See you in a bit.
We are back, and we have a death wish, ladies and gentlemen.
I always have a
because
death wish.
We are about to drink 300 milligrams of caffeine.
Of Death Wish coffee.
Yeah. It has a skull on the front. Make a sound, Sil.
Make a sound. She's so microphone shy.
Make a sound. There we go. Oh.
Now she's getting vocal.
Bless her soul.
I know.
Her dark soul. Anyway. What does it say on the back? What's the warning say, Jeremiah?
Warning. The world's strongest coffee.
Oh my gosh.
300 milligrams of caffeine. Smooth taste. Slightly sweet.
Oh no.
Dairy and gluten-free.
Oh yes.
Ingredients.
Coffee.
Organic cold brew coffee.
Pure energy.
Organic sugar. Organic caffeine. Organic natural flavor. All organic.
Pure death. So, yeah, we're probably not going to drink all this because I didn't realize how much caffeine was in here.
Dude.
I guess that's why it's called Death Wish coffee.
It says not recommended for pregnant or nursing women.
So, what are you saying?
I don't know.
Are you expecting?
Or person sensitive to caffeine. Are you sensitive to caffeine, Josh?
We're about to find out.
All right, I know I'm
It's
not.
about to get real. I'm going to get all weepy talking about Lord of the Rings.
All right. Is that what happens when you drink caffeine? You get weepy? I guess we'll find out. All right.
I want to die.
Oh, a little too bitter.
Yeah.
I like my coffee sweet. I feel like if I pour it in a glass and put some sweet and low in it,
It's definitely slightly sweet. I've had cold brew that's not too sweet, and it's no, there's a lot of sugar in here. But this is definitely slightly sweet, so it's got a lot of bitterness.
The coffee itself is not bad, actually. But I feel I would just need to
I don't know. I'm not sure if I think the coffee is not bad.
I don't think it's that bad. It's strong. But I feel for me, if I feel
Maybe
if I poured this into a glass and put a packet of Sweet and Low or two, in it would taste.
Yeah, it's 8 fluid ounces, so it's a small can to have that much caffeine packed into it. So it is probably just a strong brew, maybe I'm just not used to that strong of a coffee.
I mean, it's possible.
But yeah, I do feel like I'm gonna die. So,
dude, 170 milligrams of potassium.
Really? Is there really that much potassium in it?
Mm-hmm.
Man, this is legit. That's what I should really been watching out for.
Yes. Anyway, it's good.
It's coffee.
It's coffee. Yeah, I mean, it's coffee.
Thank you, Death Wish Coffee Co.
Yeah, now my heart's going to give out, so thank you for that. There's a gram of protein in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Let's go work out.
300 milligrams this late at night ain't gonna do it for me. I don't think I'll be able to drink much of this at all. But yeah, I think it's just a little bit. I think just because it comes out in taste too, I just like my coffee's a little bit sweeter. So.
Oh no. Well, there we go. It's been tested. It's been tasted.
It's been tested and it's been tasted.
It's been tested.
Test the taster.
All right. Well, let's
Tasty.
to our main topic. So I have notes and thoughts and things. I'm trying to think of, like, should we just start out by kind of going through the scenes, the little scenes in the trailer, and maybe talking about those, or should we do kind of like an overview of the period that's taking place in?
At least start with an overview of the period that this is supposed to be taking place in.
Oh,
because this is going to be a lot of learning for me. Fair warning to the listeners. Like, I don't know much about the history of the Lord of the Rings as much as you do. And so, like, I saw the trailer, and the trailer looked interesting, but, like, I don't know any of the deep cuts that could be in the trailer.
So this is what I thought of. So, I think that'd be good to do, because a lot of people, when they watched it, they're like, it didn't feel like Lord of the Rings, or it didn't feel like Tolkien. It just looked like a regular fantasy show to me. And now I had already read some stuff about they teased out and released a couple articles or an article, and that had a lot of information about who's playing who, and it was kind of, the article was kind of geared towards covering stuff that was in the trailer. Yeah. So everyone that was pretty much in the trailer, they talked about a little bit, and in that article. So I knew who they were going to be. So when I saw the trailer, I was like, okay, no, this is a lot. It is very Tolkien in the idea that the characters are very Tolkien, and the places you're seeing are very Tolkien. But yeah, if you don't know what would the Lord of the Rings of Power show actually cover, you might not, know exactly what to expect, So anyway, so basically this show is going to cover a period of time known as the Second Age of Middle-earth.
The movies take place during the Third Age.
The movies take place in the Third Age. The movies take place at the tail end of the Third Age.
How long is an age?
The way they mark an age, the end of an age, is like a major event. Usually a cataclysm. So like the end of the First Age ended with the Lords of the West, or the Guardians of Arda, basically the Valar, these like godlike beings, finally listened to the pleas of the people that said, please take this fallen god Morgoth and chain him out away, take and defeat him. And so this enemy of elves and men and dwarves and all the free peoples that was way, way, way above Sauron power-wise. He's the guy that created Balrogs. He's the guy, he bred dragons. So, like the worst things in Middle-earth, he created orcs, were because of this guy. So the First Age ended with him being defeated. And so that's when the Second Age began, there's this peace, because this guy's been defeated, and his lieutenant, Sauron, has kind of gone quiet. And so the Second Age starts with the Morgoth's defeat, or right after Morgoth's defeat, and it ends with Sauron's defeat. It ends with Sauron having the ring cut off his finger by what you see in the beginning of the Lord of the Rings movie, The Fellowship.
And that's the end of the Second Age.
That's the end of the Second Age. So they're going to cover a lot of major events from the Second Age, if not most of them, because they're going to compress everything. Instead of it taking place over like 2,000, 3,000 years, it's going to probably take place over, I don't know exactly how they'll do it. If it'll take place over 100 years or whatever, but they're going to kind of condense all those major things that you want to see, like the really interesting stuff that happens in the Second Age, down into a 5-season show.
Is it supposed to be 5 seasons?
Yeah, that was the pitch that they did, was 5 seasons. So we'll see how that works out. Hopefully it hopefully it is a good show. It is a good Tolkien show, and hopefully, it goes 5 seasons, and if not, if it calls for it, even more. But yeah, so what it's going to cover is it's going to cover the men that were like Aragorn's ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
In the Lord of the Rings, whenever people find out that Aragorn is of the race of Numenor or of the Dunedain, or these different words, everybody's like kind of in awe of it, in awe of like how old he is and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's more to that than just that he's an heir to the throne of Gondor.
Yeah,
it's that he's of this like race of supermen that the men of Numenor, they became so powerful in terms of like military power, naval power, and craft and weapons and all these things that Sauron was afraid of them.
Really?
Yeah. Sauron wouldn't fight them openly in battle. He would, kind of corrupt men, just regular men, and do his designs and machinations. But Sauron in this age, in the Second Age, he was a more angel of light, like Lucifer, Satan disguising himself an angel of light kind of character. Mm-hmm. He cloaked himself in a fair appearance, almost like an elf. He called himself Anatar, the Lord of Gifts or something like that. And he tried to get in with and to influence the different leaders in Middle Earth. So we're going to see Sauron trying to corrupt and influence before he's this big.
So Sauron's going to be in the show.
Oh yeah. He's going to be the main antagonist over the show. But I think the way they're going to start it is everybody's kind of like, we can rest. We can finally have some peace. And Galadriel, it looks like from what I've read and what you can kind of see, they're going to kind of center on a little bit on Galadriel being kind of this person that is not really satisfied that Sauron and that the evil that was defeated from Morgoth is completely put away with.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what her a little bit storyline is going to be. Yeah. So that's what it's going to cover. It's going to cover Sauron trying to influence the men, the elves, the dwarves, the rings of power being created, because the rings of power were not made by Sauron. Or actually, no, they were. I think they were made. They were made with his help. That's what it was.
Okay.
So they were made with his help. He influenced these certain elven and dwarven smiths and gave them the knowledge they needed to make the rings of power, except for the 3 elven rings. So like the 7 that went to the dwarves, the 9 that went to men were made under his like watchful eye and given out. So we're going to see those rings be given out, rings of power given out. We're going to see the 9 ring wraiths before they're ring wraiths
as men.
Like this show is called The Rings of Power. So there's no doubt in my mind that they are going to be showing the people that receive those rings who they are, and kind of in some ways, I don't know how detailed every character will be, but in some ways see how they were corrupted. Like we might see the Witch King's origin. Like we might see how the Witch King fell to darkness, We're going to see places like Khazad-dûm that's before they've stumbled on the Balrog, it's going to be completely a bustling area of commerce and things like that. And then we're going to see the realm of Numenor, the island where this race of supermen live, its descent into corruption because of Sauron and because of their own jealousy of the elves' immortality. Yeah. So anything that jumps to your mind or questions or just off of any of that?
What role does Galadriel play? Mm-hmm. She seems like she's going to be a main character in the show.
Yeah.
But what role does she play in this time period, I guess? Like, does she actually have like a really big role?
Oh, yes, my friend.
And is it something that I should read?
I mean, if you are interested in like Galadriel's backstory, absolutely. It's not, you're not going to really find a lot of this stuff is not in like a narrative form where it's like, following like a plot line as much as it's kind of told in a more broad brush kind of
Kind of like a broad biography.
kind of like someone sitting down and saying, let me tell you the tale of Galadriel and like how she did this and this and this and this, like, and it'll be done in 10 pages or something,
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going to try and see if, okay, it's not in that one. I've got a lot of notes for Galadriel because there's this book, The Unfinished Tales. It's got its own section. It's called Of Galadriel and Celeborn, her husband, and about their history. Oh, the history of Galadriel and Celeborn. Because apparently this is a story. Galadriel and Celeborn was a story that Tolkien was rewriting and changing up until the last week he was alive.
Really?
Like the very last thing that he wrote about Middle Earth was probably something about Galadriel.
Really?
She was a very prominent, character in his mind. Here's a little passage from that. It says that Galadriel was the greatest of the Noldor, except Fëanor, maybe, though she was wiser than he, and her wisdom increased with the long years. So the Noldor were a specific, like, group of elves.
Like some race of elves?
Yeah, but the Noldor were, like, the
OG elves?
The OG, like the best of the elves were Noldor, right? They have their own tragic history that she's wrapped up in. Part of the reason she's in Middle Earth is because of that, because of what the Noldor elves did. When they say that she was equal to basically, like, maybe Fëanor was better than her, or maybe she was equal to him. Before there was a sun and moon in this world, it was lit by these two trees. And those two trees were destroyed. This elven smith named Fëanor captured what was left of the light of the two trees in these gemstone things called Silmarils that caused all sorts of wars because everyone wanted them. And so he was this amazing, intelligent, not wise, but intelligent and skilled, powerful elf. And Tolkien puts Galadriel on the same playing field. So Galadriel is like, Fëanor at this point is not alive.
Yeah.
Died a long time ago. So Galadriel is the most powerful elf.
How did he die?
I don't even remember. When he made the Silmarils, Morgoth, this big bad guy, I don't remember I think he was kind of acting like he wasn't so bad, and he killed Fëanor's father and took the Silmarils. And so the Fëanor's sons made an oath that they would do anything they could. They would kill anyone that got in their way to get the Silmarils back, because it was the right of
their birthright. Technically.
Yeah, their birthright. And so Fëanor made his son swear that, and that kind of like there was a kind of a curse on them because of that, because they went and killed their own like elven kinsmen to get ships to chase after Morgoth to go across the sea and everything.
So that all happened in the first stage.
That's all in the first stage, yeah.
So Fëanor died in the first stage.
Yeah.
And then
Definitely.
Morgoth was defeated end of the first stage, into the second age.
Yeah.
Is Galadriel, was she alive during the first stage?
Yes. Yeah, so Galadriel's very old. This show may portray her as a little more, because they're going to try to, make her seem like she's a more proto version of herself in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So they're going to make her seem maybe a little less wise, a little more brash maybe, and but in reality, she's lived through a lot, yeah, and seen a lot, yeah, but still had a lot more to see and live through, yeah. So Galadriel absolutely is one note I wrote down that I found very interesting, because I think this might be where they got this whole premise of having Galadriel kind of be one of the ones who is looking around for Sauron, is right here. It's talking about Galadriel and when her son was born, all this stuff. And it says, but eventually Galadriel became aware that Sauron again, as in the ancient days of the captivity of Morgoth, had been left behind. Or rather, since Sauron had as yet no single name, and his operations had not been perceived to proceed from a single evil spirit, she perceived that there was an evil controlling purpose abroad in the world, and that it seemed to proceed from a source further to the east, beyond Eriador and the Misty Mountains. So what this is saying is that, like, in the Second Age, Sauron was a lieutenant of Morgoth back in the time. He wasn't seen as this, like, big guy to worry about necessarily at that time. He was very, very bad and high-ranking, servant of Morgoth. But the idea was, in that note at least, was that everybody wasn't necessarily completely aware that there was some big lieutenant of Morgoth that was still active and at work in the world. But she started to perceive that there was some kind of evil controlling force going on to the east, because Sauron did end up going to Mordor and starting to set up a fortress there and everything at a certain point in the Second Age. Mm-hmm. So she was kind of had a perception that was happening. It goes on to talk about this. Her and her husband go into a certain part of the world to try and like start founding a kingdom there to kind of be a place of strength if that force continues to rise up. But so like that's definitely a very fair thing to treat her character that way, but yeah, so like you can see in the trailer, her character multiple times. The first shot of her, she's climbing like the side of a mountain. Yeah, with a dagger.
Digs a dagger in.
And then she's in a cave. There's like some kind of troll-like thing that she's running from or seeing or whatever. And then there's another shot of her riding a horse, like fully armored. So they're gonna make her a more prominent kind of commander type figure.
It looked like there was one with her on a ship too. Or like a wrecked ship.
Oh, right. Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the thing about like them doing this show is they can hit all the bullet points that's in here. Yeah. And still have a lot of room for their own kind of telling like smaller stories of like Galadriel, something happening. She gets separated from her team or whatever, and she's with this guy. I don't know exactly what's happening there, but yeah, she's like apparently on the vestiges of some vessel or something, and so I'm very interested to see how they treat Galadriel and like characters like Galadriel and Elrond, because Elrond will be a very major character. Yeah. Elrond will be interesting to see too, because he is definitely younger as an elf at this point, definitely younger than Galadriel. Yeah. And so he's kind of like up and coming, more of an up and coming elf and political figure. I wonder how they're going to portray him. If they're going to portray him more as just like political figure, or if they'll show that because he is definitely a very capable warrior, and commander. So, as most elves of any stature were in general, elves were just kind of in general good at everything. Yeah, well, they're elves, right? But that's like Galadriel is going to have a ring of power eventually. Elrond's going to have a ring of power eventually. Yeah. So that's going to be very interesting to see. Gil-galad, we briefly see, you remember the shot in the trailer where there's like a meteor thing like flying through the sky and there's an elf looking up at it? Yes. So that elf is Gil-galad. He is more an elf that's probably, I don't know if he's older than Galadriel, but he's definitely very old, mature elf, and he's going to probably be like a king in the show, because he was at this point in the Second Age. Mm-hmm. So he's going to be, and he's a very important figure in the story too, because he was one of the few that he didn't know who Sauron was, but when this guy comes around trying to persuade people to let him help them, and give them knowledge and things, he was like, I don't trust this guy. Gil-galad was, Galadriel was, Elrond was, those three were like, I don't trust this guy. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, some of the dwarves and the elves that will end up working together very closely in Moria are the ones who do listen to him, and they're the ones who learn how to make these rings of power. Mm. So I'll be very interesting, very excited to see that. I'm also excited to see, like, talking about like the ring race, like who gets the rings of power. Yeah. How are they corrupted?
It'd be interesting to put like a character behind
there's like a passage, I forget where it is, but I didn't find it earlier, but that talks about like, there were some Numenorian men that he corrupted. There were some like sorcerers that he corrupted.
Interesting.
There were, so there was people from all different walks of life that he corrupted with the Rings of Power. And so it'll be interesting to see like who ends up, characters that start out, you're watching these characters and then like they end up, that's one of the ring wraiths, I'm excited for that for sure.
I'm pretty sure it's the intro. The guy that's on fire looks like he kind of came out of that meteorite. Who do you have any ideas who that could even be, or do you think it's just a new character? Or?
That is the character that is the most mysterious thing in the whole show, right? The whole trailer, because it's very powerful visually.
Yes.
There's like you have that one shot of the thing flying through the sky, the elf looking is like, what's that? And then you have the shot of this like bearded man who's doesn't seem like, all his clothes are burned off, and he's like reaching out for someone. Yeah. And they're reaching out to him, which people think that's one of the halflings, the early halflings that is reaching out to him. And so the question, like, who is this guy? What's going on here? So a lot of people have speculated it may be one of the wizards. If they do that, if it's one of the 5 wizards that were sent to Middle Earth, they were sent in the Third Age. Yes. And they were sent like 1,000 years into the Third Age. So it would be a big difference in the time frame of them. And I would hope that if they did that, it was only like one of them. Yeah. And not like they didn't like keep peppering them in, because the Second Age was really about the elves and the men really were able to stand up on their own 2 feet enough to counter Sauron on their own. Sauron was afraid of the Numenorians, and when they capture him eventually, and when they do, it's not through force of arms. He actually goes willingly because he's like, I know I can't beat them through military might. So there's really no need for like the wizards at this point. Now, who knows? Maybe they could. It could be just like their own twist on maybe the purpose of this person that's being sent. If it's a wizard or whatever, it could be their own twist on the purpose of this wizard, and that could be interesting. It could definitely be interesting to see. Like maybe it's Radagast. Yeah. Maybe it's one of the wizards we haven't seen as much of. Maybe it's one of the blue wizards that we haven't seen any of. We don't really know anything about. That could definitely be interesting. But I have another theory, and I don't think this is it, but I just feel like it's worth it to put it out there. So when this is something, at the end of the Second Age, when the like downfall of Numenor is complete, Sauron is, spoiler warning, this show is no doubt it's going to cover a lot of this stuff, but it's going to cover it very differently in its own way, So, yeah. But there is there's a spoiler here for what's going to happen with Numenor if you don't know. So the spoiler is Numenor at the end of the show is going to sink into the ocean. It's going to be sunk into the ocean because what they have descended into has become such a threat. They're so powerful. And they're now going to be like trying to go set foot on the Undying Lands and actually lay claims against the Valar themselves. So the Valar are like, no, that's not happening. So they sink it into the ocean. Sauron is on the island as it's being sunk into the ocean. And here is the passage of what happens with Sauron. For Sauron himself was filled with great fear at the wrath of the Valar, and the doom that Eru, that's the creator of all, laid upon sea and land. It was greater far than aught he had looked for, hoping only for the death of the Numenorians and the defeat of their proud king. And Sauron, sitting in his black seat in the midst of the temple, had laughed when he heard the trumpets of the Numenorian king sounding for battle. And again he had laughed when he heard the thunder of the storm, and a third time, even as he laughed at his own thought, thinking that he would do now in the world, what he would do now in the world, being rid of these men forever. He was taken in the midst of his mirth, and his seat and his temple fell into the abyss. But Sauron was not of mortal flesh, and though he was robbed now of that shape in which he had wrought so great an evil, so that he could never again appear fair to the eyes of men, yet his spirit arose out of the deep, and passed as a shadow and a black wind over the sea, and came back to Middle-earth, and to Mordor, and what that was his home. So that is, obviously, that would be the end of the show.
Yes.
But the visual when I read that, it made me think of that visual of, this describes like a black wind passing over Middle-earth.
Yes.
But an interpretation of that could be like a meteor or a fireball flying across the Middle-earth. And even when in the Hobbit movies, when they like banish Sauron, he flies, when he gets banished away, it's like a fireball going, and then a shadow that passes into the east. So I am almost wondering if this is Sauron. And there's another piece to this too, that because when Sauron came and he tried to sway people, it says that Sauron posed as an emissary of the Valar, sent by them to Middle-earth, thus anticipating the wizards, or ordered by them to remain there to give aid to the elves. So he basically was claiming that he was sent by the Lords of the West, by the Valar, to help them. Similar to the way that wizards were sent.
Yeah.
So he was like trying to appear to them as like, I'm being sent to help you. And so this could be his own device, his own devices to try and appear to be being sent over to Middle-earth and being found. And then he could start a ruse of, I'm here to, help. I've been sent by the Valar, whatever. He also, this could be a form that he's taking before he takes like his elven form, or his fair form, because like this guy looks like more like a wizard or like a man. He doesn't really look like a fair person.
Yeah.
So if this is Sauron, then he's probably in a different form than he will be whenever he's actually corrupting the elves and whatnot. So that is a theory I have, is that this might be Sauron, just appearing in a strange form.
That's definitely an interesting theory. I didn't think of that.
It's most likely not. It's most likely
but still, it's
something else.
Still a really cool, interesting theory.
Yeah. Well, if it proves to be true, then it's nice.
You called it. You called it here. We'll have it on the podcast.
But yeah. So, anything else in the teaser that piqued, or you had questions about or thoughts about that you remember?
Not particularly. I think it's just gonna be something that I'm just gonna have to watch and kind of figure out as I watch.
Right.
Because I haven't been as invested in Lord of the Rings as like you have, and some of these other people. But hearing this, listening you talk about it, it does get me more excited for the show than just watching that teaser did.
Right.
The teaser looked cool and everything like that, but like I wasn't like hyped for it. But hearing this and hearing some of the lore of the Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, like it does get me more hyped for the show now. Like I'm hyped for this show to come out so I can see this and learn more about this stuff. Even if it is changed up a little differently. And I'm probably one of those people who, if things do change, it isn't going to affect me as much because I don't have that background of knowing so much about.
Yeah, and that brings up another point that it'd probably feel weird if we didn't mention, because there's been so much almost backlash against the teaser. And again, not just the teaser, but the casting. Yeah. And is there some kind of agenda in the casting that is, I don't know, antithetical, or I don't know if antithetical is the right word, but that is somehow tarnishing like Tolkien, or like disrespecting his like legacy or anything. I mean, everyone has agendas, and everyone has reasons, for different reasons, for why they make certain decisions and choices with casting and things like that. And I think there's no doubt there is pressure, and this isn't me criticizing the choices of, casting minority ethnic people with minority background in certain roles, there's definitely there's no denying that there is pressure.
Yeah. Well,
And there is a calling out for there to be representation in all forms of media and entertainment, things like that. So that pressure is there, whether the motives are good, bad, or whatever. As far as does it somehow tarnish or disrespect Tolkien's memory, I don't want to definitively say that whether it does or doesn't. I would definitely push back against someone if someone said that is like immediately some kind of racist thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it is. I just think it's people feeling like this desire to allow things to be enjoyed without having to kind of second guess the goodness of it because it doesn't fit what you think it should look like. And so I think that is kind of where that comes from. But I also, did you want to say something? I don't want to.
Well, I was just going to say, like in my opinion, like as far as like does this tarnish Tolkien's legacy or whatever, the story that he made? I don't think that can be said from just looking at actors in a TV show. What it comes down to, Tolkien was a writer. Tolkien had a belief system, and his belief system shows out a lot in his writings. But he's a writer. He's a storyteller. He made this world. Does the story and what is being told in the story fit that world?
Right.
That is where I feel like it's gonna, and you can't find that until you watch the show.
Right.
If we come watch a show and I don't care what characters, I don't care what actors are in it. If they're good actors and they're telling a great story and they're fitting the world and the everything fits the world, I'm all about it.
Right.
And it's good. Is when you start messing with the story, you start changing the lore of Lord of the Rings, really, or when you start really kind of messing to fit your agenda. That's when it becomes an issue. The casting of people, I don't care about. If they're good actors and they do a good job, I'm all about it. Right. Some of the characters look really cool. Right. And I'm hyped to see them. It's for me, it's what story is being told and how's it being told. And
so that's where. So I wanted to speak on that one side of it to say, if you feel that way, I'm not going to say, that you have some big problem, some big issue you need to work out. But the way I view it is kind of like what you said, is that first of all, the characters there's so much room for characters that couldn't be mentioned in all the stories or that weren't necessary to mention because these stories were written, the pieces of this story that were written in such broad brushstrokes. They only cover the main characters. And so you can't just have a show that's just the main characters and no one else. Yeah. And so in that space, if the character is cast and they are have an elegant portrayal and movement and like an elf, but their skin color is not as, pale as maybe you imagine, or maybe even Tolkien imagined. It does not tarnish the story.
Not at all. Not in my opinion.
In my opinion. If it made it about somehow about the color of the skin, then that it was like, there's these elves that are treated a certain way because of the color of their skin or something, that's not really in Tolkien. Yeah. Prejudice didn't express itself that way in Tolkien. It expressed itself in, you're an elf, I'm a dwarf. Those are races. And we have issues, or, the Numenorians being bitter against elves because of their long lifespans. That's how prejudice expressed itself in the world Tolkien wrote. Yes. So you can still cover those themes in a way that's true to Tolkien. Yeah. Oppression, even like Galadriel, her the very fact that she is this foremost elf is a commentary, not that Tolkien was making commentary, but obviously he believed in the strength and power of women. Yeah. Innately in their femininity and their abilities that they could even match some of the greatest men in terms of their capabilities of leadership and things like that. So that's where I'm at, is that if the stories are Tolkien and feel Tolkien, it's not like seeping into it where it's like they're bending Tolkien because they have a story they really want to tell. That's what I think. I think there's fear there that's what's happening.
Yes.
And there's like a kind of a knee-jerk reaction to that has already happened, and it's already kind of been confirmed because we see these casting choices.
Yeah.
And I don't believe I'm not there. I'm definitely not there.
I just hold my judgment until the show. I think the show will speak for itself, and I hope that they do good. I hope it tells a good story. I hope it is an enjoyable show. I think it will be.
Yeah.
I have a few hiccups that I'm just worried about more of just certain things they're going to bring into it, not necessarily like casting wise, but like more like nudity and stuff into it, which I think would be kind of antithetical to Tolkien,
right,
in his belief system.
Yeah. So and that's something I've actually felt. And, and I could be proven wrong on it. I hope I'm not. But the stuff that I've seen more recently, like conversations about that, in that article, they talked about it. In another article, the person who wrote the article was interviewed by the OneRing.net and kind of said that they're not trying to do that. Like they're not trying to make it
a Game of Thrones.
Yeah, right.
Level.
Now, so they didn't say there is nothing in it,
and that's.
But even the trailer itself, there's a guy who is like his clothes have all burned off, and he's like reaching out for someone. I heard there's a guy that I know that's I don't know him, but Facebook friends with him, and he's a playwright, and he said that there isn't. They use what's called an intimacy coordinator in scenes that just could be like a loving embrace that's completely not controversial, but it's for the purpose of having someone there to take responsibility to make sure that everything is safe whenever you're, handling, someone in a romantic way. Yeah. For that purpose. So that is kind of, so his reaction to, knowing that they have intimacy coordinator is that doesn't mean
that it's just
sex scene, and so that's, I'm definitely on the feeling a lot more positive about that, but we'll see. And hopefully it's, that would be I would be more concerned about that tarnishing Tolkien.
Yeah. That's more of where I lean on a
dwarf, princess whose skin is darker, so anyway, but
I always imagine dwarf skins.
Actually,
being darker.
I'm kind of the same way
because I always am like, and maybe it's because of other media, but I've always imagined dwarves more rocky, and the ground is darker, and so
right,
mountain.
Right.
That's just
that's actually how dwarves are made. Yeah, it was they were actually made from the rocks in the stones.
So if anything, we already whitewashed the dwarf.
Yeah. So.
Well, I'm definitely talking about on this and everything. I'm getting more excited for it. I'm definitely excited for the show to come out to get a check. I hope it is good. I have hopes that it's good. I need a good fantasy show right now to come out with the Wheel of Time not being as great as I was hoping for.
Right.
So I hope they do good.
Yeah. Me too. Definitely. I mean, and because these stories, the stuff that they're covering, Numenor is is like some of my favorite stuff in Tolkien, because it's just the history is so rich. They were so powerful. They were close to elves. Something that's very, just a random, just really interesting detail. Elrond, his brother, is the progenitor of the kings of Numenor. So Elrond has a relation to Numenor. So that'll be interesting to see if that is delved into, because just Elrond is a very interesting elf, and his brother, because their father was the one who went to the Valar, was a man who sailed across the ocean to beg the Valar for help against Morgoth, and their children were blessed with this decision if they wanted to be counted among elves or men. And so Elrond's brother chose to be counted among the men, and then the race of Numenor came from that. But they were given this gift of like really long life. Like they could live like 300 to 500 to 600 years.
Yeah.
But then Elrond chose to be counted among the elves. So that's really interesting to think about the Numenor and Elrond, their relationship and everything. But so there's just a lot of very interesting Tolkien lore this show is going to cover that I've been reading for years. And, obviously want it to be good. So
yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I have high hopes, and I mean, not like super high hopes, but like I have high hopes, and and I also want them to succeed. I want it to be a good story. I know there's something out there that it seems like they kind of almost want it to not go well, but I definitely I want it to be good. I want this to succeed. It's Lord of the Rings. Of course, I want it to succeed.
Right.
Anything Lord of the Rings. So
yeah.
Well.
So, this
has been fun. I've been enjoying listening to you talk about this stuff.
I hope so. I kind of went into more than I
mean, I know I enjoyed it. I hope that the audience did. They got a little bit of less Jeremiah this time around and a lot more Josh. Maybe we're going to do something that I know a lot about sometime and people can hear my squealy little voice.
Do some Star Wars lore or something. We're definitely going to be talking about Star Wars lore, I guess, with Obi-Wan.
That'll be, yeah. We'll have a lot of Star Wars coming then.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
anything else?
I don't think so.
Right.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. And
come back. Next time we'll have, God willing, we'll have Johan Martin on, talk about his book. And
yeah, I look forward to that. I think it's going to be a good episode.
Yeah, it'll be fun to have him on. So,
well, this has been a Bridge of Two podcast. Far away bridge.
Yeah, Jeremiah told me, he said, I got a drink from a guy in a gas station that had 800 milligrams of potassium in it. I was like, oh yeah, that's my dealer. I know that guy. That's my potassium dealer.
Yeah, Joe.